You're through to 1-800-DRAMA,
the show where you share your biggest dilemmas.
and we help you navigate them.
I'm Shaaba.
And I'm Jamie.
Come join us as we help people figure out if they are the drama.
Because sometimes you just need an outside perspective.
And we can all expand our own mindsets along the way.
Wait, am I the drama? Red flag, green flag, Shaaba.
Hit me.
Not tipping.
A restaurant.
Yeah, I'm not talking about fly tipping. That is
Don't
a red
eat yellow
flag.
snow. That was my tip.
Oh,
Okay.
red flag for that joke.
Not tipping. That's so geographically dependent. I feel like in the States it means something entirely different
Yes.
to in the UK. So I preface this conversation with the fact that in the UK, waiting staff are paid well and
paid
a
fairly.
wage.
Yeah, are paid
they
a
don't
wage.
have to rely on tips in order to survive. So tipping is actually very optional here.
Yes. I don't know about you, but I feel like the culture we were brought up in the UK is very much tipping is for exceptional service. It's a special thing.
Yeah, I feel like tipping is for really, really exceptional service.
Yeah.
When I say really exceptional services, I don't just mean if someone smiles or whatever, but if you're oh, it's a birthday and they give you a cake or they come out and do a little song and a dance or whatever, that would probably warrant a tip.
Sure.
Or in high-end restaurants, that's when it's expected, but you'd never be expected to tip at a fast food chain restaurant.
No.
I don't think they'd be shocked.
But it's just not done.
I was going to say, I feel like if you at the table as a Brit amongst other Brits were and therefore I'm going to tip at KFC, they'd
Yeah.
be oh, okay, sure. It would be considered quite unusual.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a red flag to tip. Was that the point? I forgot what
Not
red flag
tipping.
is. Not tipping. Okay. Yeah, therefore I don't think it's a red flag in the majority of situations.
Yeah.
But if someone, I feel so shady saying this, but I think it's because I know that there's a lot of Americans who are what do you mean you wouldn't tip?
Yeah.
That's so rude. So that's why I felt the need to preface that. My point is I don't think it's a red flag if people are look, that restaurant that we went to recently with some of our friends, that was not good service. That was really
Yeah.
bad service. And actually we ended up paying on the bill I think it was 30 to 40 pounds more.
It was very confusing.
It was
yeah.
so confusing and it was wrong 3 times and we just gave up in the end, and I definitely did not want to tip in that situation. Do you see what I mean? So in
Yeah.
that sense I don't think it's a red flag. But if you're at a place that is high-end and expected to tip and someone's no, just because I don't want to, but
Right.
without a reason, maybe I'd be but why?
Sure. I also feel tipping culture in the States has gone beyond restaurants.
Yeah.
So in the UK, it's pretty much exclusively that's the only place where you would ever be expected to give a tip. But when we went to the States,
Of course, you
I
tip
swear there
everyone.
were some checkouts at just shops that were saying, "Do you want to tip 5% to the person who served you at the till?"
Yeah.
And I was that's really bizarre.
Even when we were doing takeaway, things like that, at the bagel shops.
Yeah, when it was a food place, but it was a takeaway where there was no service. It was just somebody taking your order at a till and bringing it to you.
Taxi drivers.
Never would you be asked, even consider a tip in the UK in that situation. Yeah.
The bell staff. I don't know what you call them, but the people who move bags and stuff.
I feel in the UK, if you ask them to move your bags,
I've never used it in the
but
UK.
we never used it. Yeah.
I
never use it anywhere because I want to move my own bags.
Oh, and that's the other thing that it didn't confuse me, but it did shock me. Cleaning stuff.
Yes.
Hotels and stuff. They
Yeah.
have little pouches for you to put money in for
Yeah.
tips. And
Never
I was
been asked that in
wow,
the UK.
It's just such a different
Yeah.
world. It's really bizarre to me. I don't think it's a red flag to not do it here. But I would say it was a big red flag if in places
Yeah.
where you know it's expected, you didn't do
The
it.
biggest red flag is that there are some jobs that don't pay a fair wage.
The red flag,
That's
the freaking
true-
industry.
That's the
that
true
is
red flag.
Honestly, it's when people go, "Oh, I'm so glad that UNICEF are here to help in these disgusting dystopian wars that we are seeing." Why is it up to charities?
Yeah.
Why? Why are charities having to do what governments should just be doing? In a similar vein, why are just general popular society supposed to be paying for your staff? Restaurateurs, pay your people a living wage. It's very simple.
Yeah.
I feel like that got me spicy.
Oh, yeah, you were a bit spicy about that when you had a lot to say.
Well, perfect time to assess a drama. Are you ready, Jamie?
Yes.
To go fishing for
Drama.
assholes. Let's go. Ooh, drama.
Am I the drama, Shaaba?
Always.
I want another baby. Husband says no.
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 Capitalised no.
No. Like you're telling off a dog. No.
Aww. Baby, no.
No. Spray it with water.
Shaaba.
I mean, I say her, I'm assuming this is a set couple. Let's see. Opie is a 37-year-old woman, has a husband who is a 42-year-old man, and they're in disagreement regarding having more children. Opie
Right.
says, we've been together for 8 years. He has 4 kids from a previous marriage, and we have 2 children together. So 6 children total. That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot of children.
Do you know, normally when we look at the title, you can have like this gut feeling.
Yeah.
I didn't have a gut feeling from the title.
Yeah.
Partially because you made it funny, but also because I was like, well, it's so context dependent. If you've got lots of kids, I can understand it more. If you've got one kid, then, you know, maybe that's a bit harsh. I don't know. It also depends on what you guys like set as boundaries before you got together.
Yeah, and what the reasons are and all of this stuff. I mean, if you've got 6 already, I can definitely see not wanting 7.
6 kids are as blah. I can't even talk.
Yeah.
It's a lot of kids.
Imagine the amount of toothbrushes.
Jesus, how much toilet roll do you go through as a household of 8 people? How big is dinner? Like, how much rice do you need to cook for 8 people?
Maybe they explain.
Maybe.
We cook exactly X number of cups of rice.
No, legit though, like, imagine how many shoes, like how big you'd need that shoe rack to be. Like, it's actually overwhelming me just thinking about maintaining a household of 16 legs. It's just a lot.
Okay, well, you won't need to. We won't have 6 children.
Opie says, we have the kids full time and their ages are 18, 17, 14, 10, 5 and 2. I just felt like a bingo caller. But that's overwhelmed me even more.
That's a lot of different needs to need to provide for. From toddler to adult, and basically everything between.
I have
just
so
starting
many
school,
questions.
just starting probably about to go into high school, and then teenagers kind of ending this. Like, that is a lot of different
What car do you have?
requirements.
How many bedrooms do you have? Do you have any couple time?
I feel like having 8 children.
6 children.
I think
said
for
8
like-
because there's 2 adults.
I feel like having 8 people in a household, that is like the maximum number that's comfortable for a regular but large car. If you have another one, you'll need a minivan. You need a full-on tiny coach just for your family.
What car do you know that seats 8 people?
Yeah, some cars have 8 seats. They've got the 2 for driver, passenger, then the 3 in the back with
That's
the middle
like a
seat.
normal car.
And then in the boot, there's 3 more.
There's 2 more. That's in like a space wagon, you get 2 more.
So there's 7.
And that's in a big car, but like the average car seats 5.
So what, does the 2-year-old just run behind? Mummy, Daddy!
Just like duct tape to the roof.
Oh, I was scared you were having fun. Right.
The 18-year-old says OP is off at school. Oh, there you go. They don't need a
okay.
seat in the car. And the 17-year-old will be leaving for college next year. And by college, they mean uni, right?
Yes.
Cool. I feel the extreme desire to have another baby, says OP. I don't feel complete, and I'm sad literally every day.
That does not sound like the most healthy reason to have a child. Just gonna say it.
It really doesn't. And I would question an extreme desire to have another baby when you already have 6. My thinking is then, is there something within you that doesn't see the original 4 as your kids? Because you've only had the experience of growing up 2 with your husband? Could that be where it's coming
been
from?
together for 8 years. The 10-year-old was only 2.
That
oh,
is
you
a
mean
fair
like
point.
baby?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's like, why, when you already have an 8-person household, are you so desperate to have another child?
Well, and also saying that you don't
extreme
feel
desire.
complete.
Yeah.
That sounds more like a internal thing that needs to be worked through, that no matter how many children you have, it's not going to fix it.
That was going to be my second point. At what point will that feeling stop? Could
Yeah.
you guarantee that having one more baby would like satisfy that desire? In which case, would you then resent all your other kids or neglect your other kids because this kid is so
Because they
special?
didn't, yeah.
Or would you end up resenting all of the kids that you have since because that feeling of sadness is still there and you're like, oh, you didn't fix it?
Yeah.
Questions. Anyway, OP continues, I cry most days because I know he does not want another child. I've brought it up a few times and he shut it down immediately with just a no. As in you've never spoken about it, he's always said no? Or you spoke about it the first time and now he's like no?
Maybe.
Why is it just no? OP asks, why does he just get to shut it down? I told him that I'm sad every day and that it isn't fair that he just gets to say no and his no trumps my yes. What do we think about that?
Okay, maybe slightly controversial. I think when you're discussing bringing a life into the world, if there is not total agreement, it's a no.
I'm with
and
you.
the no does trump the yes.
Yeah.
Because that's not fair on
the squish.
child.
Yeah.
But it's not fair on anybody, actually, because if the parent who wanted the child then ends up with a co-parent that resents the fact they had that extra child, and then there's a child who feels like they were never wanted by both parents, it's no, yes. The no, in my opinion, does trump
the
in
yes.
in this situation.
I totally agree with you, and it's nothing to do with the fact that the husband said it. If it was the other way round, the no would always trump the yes, because you have to be all in to have such a large commitment.
Yeah, this is talking about bringing another life into the world.
I'd say the same about a pet.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's commitment, it's responsibility.
Yeah.
This isn't like, I don't know why a rock came into my mind. This isn't like...
It's not a plushie toy.
Or something that's only going to be there for like 6 months. We're talking about a child.
Yeah.
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 Damn. Opie says he doesn't know what to do and that he's willing to go to therapy.
I feel like therapy maybe sounds like a good option here.
I even think perhaps individual therapy first might sound like a good idea, because, well, yeah, maybe it's something for you both to do together as well. But I feel like that I don't feel complete and I'm sad literally every day statement could be a real problem if that's Opie's feelings generally. But it's couples therapy that would absolutely be required if that's your feeling specifically because he's saying no. I feel like we need more information and we should just read the post, I'm sorry. Opie continues. When I ask him why he doesn't want any more kids, his answer isn't finances or a bigger car or enough bedrooms. It's that he's too old and he's tired. How old is he?
42.
Why are you wiggling your finger?
Because I'm agreeing with that. Because yes.
What, that he's too tired?
42.
Or too old?
Yeah, he's 42. I'm not saying he's too old, but I wouldn't want children past like my mid to late 30s, and I have parents who were both in their late 30s when they had me. I also personally, I know not every child with older parents will agree with me, but I know how it can feel to be the child of parents who are like 15 years older than the parents of all of your friends. It feels different. It feels like your parents are more on par with your friends' grandparents, and it can be a bit alienating and also give some children a deep sense of concern that their parents are going to die when they're still quite young, as in when the child's still quite young.
Yeah, I know that's something that we have spoken about, and that's a little bit of a concern that you have in not wanting to be too old a parent yourself.
And my parents were 4, and because they're a year apart, 4 and 5 years younger than Opie's husband is right now.
I thought you were saying 4 and 5 when they had you. I was like,
well, my mum was about to turn 39, my dad was about to turn 38, so they were a bit younger than Opie's husband, and they wouldn't have had another one after me. And I still, do you know the average age to lose your parents is 54? But like, my parents will be in their mid 90s, which if they're healthy, I'd love that. But also I grew up with just like older parents.
Oh gosh, your parents are immortal. It's
yes,
fine.
Thank you.
They'll be around forever.
Just like Apollo and Prawn. So that's another
really
thing.
Sad.
No, but it's just another consideration about bringing a child into the world.
I appreciate you sharing so vulnerably how you feel. I totally understand. It's not something that I ever really thought about, but I can see it from that perspective. And I'm also thinking, just specifically for OP's situation, if someone's saying, I'm too old and tired, like I'm feeling that way, like, why would you want to force them to have a kid? Because they're clearly not going to have a great time. It just feels a bit odd, you know? It feels like what you're doing is not wanting another child for him to say yes to. You want him to want another child. There's a difference. I'm not making that clear enough.
I don't think I quite understand what you mean.
So OP's questions are like, why does he get to shut it down? Why does his no trump my yes? It's almost like saying, look, because I want another child, we should just be able to do it. I'll do the nappies, I'll do the raising.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like that's what you would want. You want him to want to have another child.
Yeah.
You don't just want him to give in, you want him to change what he wants.
I mean, yes, I do also think that, you cannot expect that of somebody, but it is a better approach to take, rather than thinking I'm going to wear you down until you just give in.
Yeah.
It's thinking, like, no, if we're going to do this, you need to be all in too, and I'm sad that you're not. Like, there is a bit of credit to give there, but you, at the same time, you can't change his mind.
Yeah, I guess in my mind it just changes the context of what you're asking for, because initially, when I was thinking of that power dynamic, I was like, oh, can he just yield so that I can have my wish of having another kid? But that's not what OP's asking for. But you're right, ultimately 42 is relatively on the older side to be having kids. Even from a biological point of view, you'd be considered like a higher risk pregnancy. And then you've got here a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old already. So if dad is already feeling this way,
tired,
when you've got 16 years of having a kid presence in your life before your youngest currently leaves the nest.
Yeah,
don't delay. Don't, if you don't want to.
If everything goes according to typical age groups, he's already set to be 68 before the final one leaves the nest. So having another kid pushes that into the 70s before you're expected to be empty nesters. And I just feel like, for me personally, and clearly for OP's husband, that is too old, and I wouldn't want it.
Fair enough. OP continues, when I'm asked why I do want another, I tell him that I feel incomplete. My desire is so strong and it pains me daily knowing that I won't ever get another and that our youngest isn't even 2 yet. So what's the big deal? So your youngest isn't even 2.
Wow.
Stop.
But like your youngest is 2-ish because you put 2 in the age, so I'm guessing they're closer to 2 than 1. Babies take 9 months to cook, so like probably going to be nearer to 3. So you're like 3 years behind, delaying everything, and another 3 years older with a newborn and starting all over again, which he clearly doesn't want to do.
And why? Why does it pain you so much? Why is that making you feel incomplete? If I read that or understood that that's how my mum felt if I was the 2, 5, 10, 14, 17 and 18-year-old, I'd be like, oh, why am I not enough? As the dad in this situation, I'd be like, well, when would you feel complete?
Yeah, because if this is how strongly you feel and how incomplete you feel, one, I personally feel like that is not to do with children, and OP just thinks that children will fill that void for her. But two, what's to say that one kid will fix it? It might be 2 or 3 kids, and it might keep going and being like, I need another one, I need another one.
And that's just not fair on the kids.
Yeah.
You can't put that expectation on a child
To complete you.
That's not a great or
It's
healthy
not
approach. For bringing a squish into the world. OP continues, we still have babies, so it's not like everyone is grown and I'm asking him to really start over. I also feel like having a child is giving something versus not having one is taking something away.
I mean, having one takes away freedom. It takes away time, it takes away finances, it takes away the time you have left until you are free of childcare responsibilities. It is going to delay it by at least 3 years for this couple.
You know, I'm glad that you bring that time frame up, because I was like, 3 years, what are you talking about? But you're suggesting that for this newborn to get to the stage that the nearly 2-year-old is at now, you have to consider that 9 months of pregnancy.
Yeah.
And that's something that I always forget to consider when we're talking about life plans. Like, it takes time.
And then it might take time to fall pregnant. It could take them a year to fall pregnant. And then by that time, they're going to have a newborn and a 4-year-old.
Yeah. And even if you're not, baking a baby from scratch, you don't know how long that's going to take. The adoption process takes a while. It's something that I always forget to sort of factor into our timeline process. I'm just like, next day delivery. But I will say that I do think that's a really enlightening sentence. I also feel like having a child is giving something versus not having one is taking something away. So that makes it sound like to OP, that child is something that's a given. They already have it in their mind.
Yeah.
And that I think is so unusual. I'm not quite understanding where that's coming from.
No, you're so right, because not having one is a net neutral.
Right?
It's neutral, because you're not giving or taking anything away, because there's not an extra child in existence.
So why does OP feel like they already have it?
Yeah.
That this is definitely a therapy
Maybe
requirement.
maybe after they had the last one, when they felt like, I feel like I could be ready to be pregnant again, they just thought automatically, because their husband maybe had 4 with their previous partner, that he would be happy to have multiple
Perhaps
more.
she's feeling insecure in the relationship. Maybe there's something going on where she doesn't consider those 4 kids to be the same as the 2 kids that she has birthed.
I guess it depends on the role of the older kid's mum. If she's still in
the other co-parent. I mean, but you have the kids full time, so very interesting.
Let's see.
OP continues, I'm willing to go to counselling, but I'm not sure what that will achieve. We both want different things.
I definitely think individual counselling is important here. I think it will help resolve these feelings and exactly why OP wants another child, and it could be coming from a perfectly okay place and they've just not explained themselves fantastic here, but it also could be coming from completely the wrong reasons to bring a child into the world.
I also have to say, I used to be very dubious about therapy and counselling. I was that person that was saying, I don't get what therapy would achieve. I don't understand. I already know what needs to happen. So why do I need to go and pay someone to tell me what I already know? But actually, actually, it's not to do with that. And even if you both do want different things, having that solidified and understanding the impact of that. What does the effect of those different things have on our relationship? Is this something we can work through, having different things? Can you help understand each other's point of view more, even if that end result doesn't change? These are all really important sort of questions and boundaries that are fantastic to explore, that if you can't do that without a mediator, then therapy is absolutely golden in value for.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening to this and being like, like Shaaba would have been years ago before she had therapy, do question that. OP says, I also feel slighted delighted. I take care of his 4 from his first marriage and love them and give them everything, and I put in the work and the effort, and I feel like I'm being punished because 6 kids is a lot, so 7 would be insane, but his first 4 have a mum. We'll never have that type of bond or relationship because they didn't come from me. Having kids of your own is different no matter how hard you try and make it the same. I'm actually getting a little bit annoyed at OP, and I think it's because I could not personally disagree more. Are you saying therefore that unless you have vaginally birthed your child, it's not the same? Or unless you've grown that child, it's not the same? Because then what about adopted parents?
I hear you. I do think that depending on the nature of the relationship and how all the parental figures behave, step-parent relationships can be different.
I know they can be different, but to say they didn't come from me,
yes,
I do
hear
think it's
you.
a wrong justification. So I don't think you know what you want, OP, because in that vein, then you're saying that you feel differently to your husband because he didn't have the child. So does that mean the husband should automatically have a different bond because the kid didn't come out of them?
I took the come from me as like
a gene thing?
Yeah, which again, like,
Even
what
so.
does that mean OP's opinion on adoption would be? Like, what if
Yeah.
you adopted 2 and then had 2 genetically? Would you not see the 2 that were adopted the same as the 2 that were genetic? But aside
This
from
is
that,
a you problem, not a kid's
you
problem.
did enter a relationship with somebody knowing he had 4 children from a previous relationship, knowing that it would be an incredible amount of children to have. If you were wanting to have 5 biological kids of your own, that would be a lot in a household and a lot for one person to have, for him to have 9 kids of his own. I'm just saying,
And I
like,
did say earlier, I'm wondering if there is this balance thing. Maybe that's why OP is feeling this need, because there are 4 from a previous marriage. But especially here, hearing this, I'm just trying to figure out, like, why do I feel so spicy about that? Why is that not that? I think, okay, I get it. I'm understanding why I'm annoyed at this bit. It's specifically the having kids of your own is different no matter how hard you try and make it the same. It doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. And this is coming from me, who has experienced, I guess, in the most extreme way, how it is not the same.
yeah.
But there are so many examples of really healthy blended families, growing families, step parents and their kids having really wonderful bonds.
Yeah.
And as you say, we've both brought this up a number of times, adoptive parents. What are you trying to say if they didn't come from you? Even if it's not adoptive parents, from the IVF process.
Yeah. No, it's something about this feels a bit off, and it's hot,
It's
and
very
also that I feel like I'm being punished because 6 kids is a lot. Like, I keep going back to it, but I'm sorry, you married someone who had 4 kids from a previous relationship. What did you expect? So 7 would be insane. So, like, it's almost like she knows that having that many kids is a lot of kids to have, but she wants it anyway because she feels like the 4... She's disregarding the 4 from the previous
she's like, well,
relationship.
they're different.
She's like, well, they're not mine. They don't count. I'm counting the fact I have 2 and I want more than 2, disregarding the point that actually as a collective you have 6, and that's the number that's important. The other 4 can't be forgotten about.
Imagine the impact that's going to have on those 4 kids, like how they'd feel. Imagine if they see this post.
Yeah.
This is like a bad parenting move.
And especially, like, because multiple of them have been... They were... The oldest one was only 10 when they first got together, and the youngest was 2.
Yeah.
2. Then they're like... If she's really tried, and they do have a relationship, particularly the 2-year-old, just because of the age, will inevitably be very close to her.
Yeah.
It just feels a bit off.
And I just want to clarify, I don't think it's a bad parenting move to come and ask for advice. I think it's a bad parenting move to want new kids without exploring these feelings and, like, I guess just confronting the fact that having another child is not a healthy way to deal with these feelings that you're having.
Yeah, and I don't like people saying things like having kids of your own is different.
No
because
matter how hard you try to make it the same.
They always
so black
mean
and white.
adoption. And, like, I've seen so many cute videos of step-parents adopting their step-kids, and that's their child, and that is so cute. And, like, if I met somebody who had a child already, like, I would look after that child as if they were my own, and they would become that. Not to overstep on the other parent that would be involved from the previous relationship, but also to be there as a parental figure.
Yeah, or to feel satisfied and satiated with the love that you would have for a child, regardless of whether they were in your body or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. And I do think that for us, we haven't had the privilege of being able to be ignorant to different family structures.
Yeah.
I do think that makes a difference. I'm assuming, like, cis women cis man, typically there is a lot of privilege that comes from that and a lot of ignorance. And I wonder if OP's thought about this mindset in light of those alternate situations. And that's something that therapy would do.
Yeah.
Making you question things like, what about adoptive parents? Does that mean that they can never have the love for a child? What about the dads in those situations? Like, where is it that you are, what that is coming from? Is it the birthing process?
Yeah.
Or is it like having genes? And if it is having genes, then what about other parents like dads or mums who've had to use egg donors or sperm donors in the IVF process? Are they any less of a parent, or is that bond any different? And I think maybe if that was digged down to have such an extreme opinion of having your own kids is different no matter how hard you try, I would bet that's coming from a complicated co-parenting situation.
Maybe, yeah.
Where something's not working. Either the 4 previous kids are in some way rejecting OP as a maternal figure, or there is, as you said, the baby mama for the 4 kids is causing some form of complication.
Maybe.
Oof. It seems like a really hard situation. I feel bad for OP, but I also think that OP is severely misguided, and I cannot feel with any more conviction that having a kid would not fix these internal problems.
Yeah.
OP finishes off by saying, I feel empty and sad and hopeless, but husband says it's in human nature to want to procreate, so he believes that I'll never feel like I'm done. But I disagree with that statement. What should I do?
I mean, I really don't think a child is going to satisfy those feelings of emptiness and sadness and hopelessness. That feels like something else is going on. That is not up to a baby to fix. That's a lot of pressure to put on a baby.
That is. That's a horrible reason to bring someone in the world.
Because your mum was sad.
I don't want you for being you. I just feel like I need you to fix me.
Yeah. Oh.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's deep.
You're the drama, babe.
You're the drama.
You're the drama. I was initially going to say everybody sucks here, but you're the drama with some condolences, because it feels like you're not trying to be, but you really, really, really need to explore those internal feelings.
Yeah, I feel like there's something going on, though, that needs to be accepted and explored before an actual decision is made about any more children being brought into the world.
Very that.
What do other people say? Your husband is making a rational decision. That is so many children to support and send to college. 100%, that is a lot of children. Yes, it is.
really
It's a
is.
lot of children, yeah.
And that will absolutely be contributing towards like the tiredness element of it.
Yeah, he's already raised 4 to at least 10 years old.
And I know OP's saying, like, oh, it's not about things like how big the house is, how many rooms we have, how big the car is, but like I'm sure that will also be playing a part.
Yeah, there must be kids who share a bedroom then. Yeah, unless it's like a 7 or 8 bedroom house.
Could
That'd
be.
be massive.
Could be.
Yeah?
You feel slighted, you have 6 children, grow up. And one doesn't want any more kids and the other does, and then oops, guess who ends up in divorce? I think this is really harsh and just not taking into account that people can have individual feelings. And I hate these kinds of comments on these forums, I have to say.
I do get the what do you feel slighted by, because that was a bit of a harsh comment towards the 4 stepkids. But then to be like, guess who ends up in divorce? It's definitely something they can work through, but yeah.
Something that OP individually really needs to work through.
Yes, I would agree. Feeling complete is not about babies, it's about self-esteem.
Self-esteem.
Self-esteem. You do need therapy, that's the answer, but not to convince him, but to start loving yourself.
I totally
agree with this one.
1,000,000% agree with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it must be hard as well, because if OP's been sitting with these feelings for a long time and like every day is feeling sad, and almost like it sounds like with love, OP is pestering to be like, why?
Baby.
Why?
Baby.
And now husband's
Yeah.
just going, no, if you've gotten to that stage, that yearning that you must have if in your mind you've convinced yourself that a baby is a fix,
Yeah.
like a magical medicine solution.
Or it may also be like, oh, well, the last time I felt happy was when we had our last child, so therefore I feel happy if I have another one.
A psychology textbook would suggest that maybe there's some problems in your relationship. I'm not saying that's definitely what's happening, but if that is the case, why is the reason that? Were you feeling distracted? Is this kid a distraction for you? Because now your youngest is 2, you're feeling like,
Is
I
a
can't-
2-year-old not distracting? Sorry.
Maybe not in the same way that having a newborn is, Maybe
not happy distracting.
I'm just thinking like timed with the fact that the 18-year-old is gone and the 17-year-old is leaving.
About to go.
They're like, more time, just us. And maybe the husband's like, I don't want it anymore. I don't know. You need to go
Yeah.
therapy, babe. Nothing has ever been more clear. You need therapy. Not gonna lie, you might be the drama.
Love the children you currently have.
Yeah.
Yes, a couple are leaving for college, but so what? You're both getting old, and 6 kids is a lot, whether they're yours or not. You say you love his kids, but they're yours too since you're married. Having another kid would be burdensome for your finances, even if he doesn't bring it up. You have to think that another baby means another 18 years of work and parenting at minimum. college isn't cheap either.
I do really appreciate this take that we're seeing quite commonly, which is that even though husband said it's not about the other stuff, just remember that, of course, it can be both. That context will be a part of this.
Definitely.
Especially if the reasons that he's giving is that he's old and he's tired. And I also kind of feel like we're forgetting that your kids are still your kids after the age of 18. Just because they're off at college doesn't mean that they're not your children anymore. You can still have that like satiated love and family feeling. I'm actually, the reason that I want kids, something that we've been talking about quite a lot recently, is more for when we're significantly older and we have older children than the younger stages. I'll love a little kid too, of course, but like I'm really excited.
Snotty.
I'm really excited for having that friend, you know, for being able to like chat about things and seeing them grow and experiencing their life milestones. That's something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I could skip the 2 to 10-year-old stage.
Oh yeah, because you want baby as well.
Yeah, I want a baby and then a child that can actually hold a conversation. I don't want that sticky, I mean...
You don't want the sticky mess stage.
Yeah, like where they like pick things up and eat slugs off the floor and they like poop and vomit everywhere. No. I'm not here for that.
Another commenter has said, as others have said, another baby does not guarantee that empty feeling will be gone. Figure that out ASAP.
Yeah.
And you owe that not just to yourself, but also to this potential future child.
And to your current children.
Yeah, and to your husband. Because if it means that there's an issue with the relationship, you guys got to sort that out. You both have bodily autonomy.
It wouldn't be right if he forced you to have another, so why do you think this is okay? He is 42, you are 37, you'll hunt spring chickens, you have 6 other kids to pay for and bring into adulthood, your husband is being responsible. It's selfish to spread yourself so thin that you can't provide what each of them needs. You knew he had 4 kids when you married him, yes. How are you being punished? You have 2. Empty where? Pour yourself into the ones you have. Sorry if it seems I'm harsh, but this isn't a new purse for your collection.
This is like brutal, tough love, but the element of truth I think really needs to be heard.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's a lot.
There's
heavy. One other question that we haven't sort of explored, and maybe this isn't the episode to do it in, but I also... I don't mean to be that person. I do feel like this generation, though, and the generations coming up, do need to be those people. We have to think about the world.
Oh, yeah.
And environmentally, I know this can be controversial. 6 kids is a lot. I understand you didn't come in and have 6 kids. There were 4 from a previous marriage, but like, think about the carbon footprint that you as a family have, and if it's really wise to be bringing more kids into a world where resources are not infinite
and cost of living is
really
high.
Increasing, you know?
Yeah. I'm not gonna get super judgy apart from when people start having like 8, 10, 12 children. I just don't see the need because I cannot possibly see how each of those children is getting quality time with their parents to the point that they deserve. But like for me, am very much like 2 in, 2 out.
That's our sort of like thinking and process. It doesn't mean that everybody needs to, and you're right, I'm not judging you for wanting to have more. I think the place where I do definitely judge is if you do not have the means.
Yeah.
If you are, you know, putting your kids in difficult situations where you're having to choose between feeding your kids or putting the electricity on because it's expensive to bring kids into a world, and you've got so many, you're right, both in terms of tangible needs but also in terms of love and affection. There's only so much time 2 parents can split between growing numbers of families.
Yeah, having children shouldn't just be a given because you can.
Yeah.
It should be a deeply considered thing.
But also, it can be a tertiary element, but do think about the environment as well. If everybody had these
7
large
kids.
families, Jesus Christ, our world would not be able to survive.
Yeah, and the only reason people used to do it back in like Victorian times is because most of them died.
That also for religious reasons, you know, because in Catholic society, for example, things like contraception is banned, so you were having kids not because you wanted them, but because they were,
whoops.
Yeah, here's a byproduct of a situation.
Every sperm is sacred.
Best of luck, OP. I really hope you're able to go to therapy and figure this out. Oh, drama. Am I the drama for telling the truth about why I ended my engagement to my ex's parents and grandparents?
So, ex-partner tells their ex-partner's
parents and
family
grandparents
why it ended. Ooh.
Why'd it end?
Why did it end? Okay.
I'm thinking it's your story to tell, right? So...
Yeah.
Intrigue!
OP is a 26-year-old woman and was engaged for more than a year, but called it off in October.
Oh, I'm sorry
My
to hear that.
family and friends knew, but not a lot of my ex's family and friends knew. Okay.
What,
that's
that it was
interesting.
called off?
Done.
Interesting.
Yeah. His parents had grown frustrated by the chaos in their family that to them seemed to follow the end of our engagement, and they and my ex's grandparents approached me to ask why I'd called everything off.
Fair enough.
Right.
But I mean, my first question is, why aren't you asking the ex?
Yeah.
If that's your child, why are you not going to them? Why are you now going to the person that is no longer with them?
Well, maybe
They're not telling them.
Yeah, and maybe they're part of the chaos, and that's why the family are asking the ex.
If someone said that to you, say we broke up, and
Yeah.
my family came to you and went, why did this relationship end? Would you say something?
I mean, it'd be like, have you spoken to Shaaba? And if they're like, she won't speak to us, or there's something else going on,
Like, we want to hear your side of the story.
I'd probably give like a top level of what happened, but I don't know if I would go into a huge amount of detail unless they said yes and Shaaba said this, and you had just like absolutely
Lied.
slandered me. Then I would
Jamie,
I'd need to
well,
restore my honor.
he pooped all over the house. I don't know where. That's where my head went.
Okay. Well, if that's the only thing that would make you break up with me, then we're fine.
I had to lighten the mood
Yeah.
because it was getting a bit too realistic in conversation.
Okay.
And I really
hear
like
you.
being with you.
OP continues. This is so messy and I feel dumb for not worrying about it, but I'll explain what happened and what I told them.
Okay.
Okay, so my ex's brother and his wife were trying to have a baby for a while and failed.
Wait, so the ex-boyfriend's brother and his wife.
His wife,
Right, so
yes.
your to-be sister-in-law and brother-in-law
Yes.
were, sure,
They were trying to have a baby
Cool,
and
cool.
couldn't.
Thank you. Do you know, in the comments, someone suggested that we should have a whiteboard because you always have to explain to me the family connections. I'm like such a visual person.
that's so cute,
I was like, I
yeah.
actually think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, that would be very fun. We should
Damn
get
it.
like a little mini whiteboard.
Sorry, just shout out to all of our peaches who are listening to podcast only. I don't understand how you do it.
Not long after ex and I got engaged, his brother and sister-in-law asked if my ex would donate sperm. Okay, sure. Brother-to-brother sperm donation is the most common type of sperm donation.
Sure, yeah.
They wanted to turkey baster it and act like his brother was the bio father, but they'd be honest with the kid.
Hang on.
Right.
So when you say act like the brother was the bio
To
father,
like the rest of the family and
but
everybody
the brother
else.
you're talking about your
Ex's brother, not the ex. They wanted to act as if the ex's brother, who was the part of the couple receiving the donation,
Right.
was the bio father.
but not to the child,
Not
but
to the child,
everyone,
but
in,
to
the
everyone
family.
in the family.
Oh, Jamie, I think I might know where this is going, and this is actually quite alarming.
Okay, that feels a bit messy, if I'm honest, but then it is between the couples to decide who knows. What I would say is with sperm donation, turkey bastering is really not a good option. It just doesn't give you the same legal protections as if you go through a clinic.
I was going to say, illegally, super dodgy.
If you want somebody, a known person, to be a donor, the best way is to ask them to go to a clinic and give their donation for you specifically, and then you use it that way. It can still be like quote unquote turkey basted, so it's like IUI and it's cheaper.
IUI being the process more commonly known as artificial insemination. So it's not that the woman in the situation or the biological egg giver in that situation would need to have their eggs extracted for an embryo to be made outside the womb and then reimplanted. It is essentially turkey bastering in a clinic. Jamie does bring up a really, really good point in that legal protection, I do think, is a very important consideration, because in these situations, essentially, if you are not the person giving birth under UK law, if someone is married to the birth giver, they are automatically put as the father on the birth certificate. So the sperm donor in this situation, which is the brother or the ex, right? They could very easily be like, no, do a DNA test. You'll see that I am the father of this kid. If something later, down the line, I don't know, they change their mind, or they're like, oh, I'm feeling some attraction to this kid and I want to be their father, that could cause some huge issues in that family.
Yeah.
At the same time, I also see why turkey bastering, such a terrible, annoying term for it, it's free.
Yeah.
And clinics are disgustingly high priced.
Yeah.
And also, because we have been doing a lot of looking into this, so cheeky.
Yeah.
It really pisses me off. The privatized system of baby creation has so many manipulated statistics. It's horrific. It's all for profit. And even the cases that they'll like bring in or not bring in, this is like a whole video essay in itself, is based on what statistics benefit the clinic, not whether that family could genuinely have a child.
I'm not judging from like a financial
So
perspective.
I do understand. I don't want to like. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
I'm not at all judging people who do this sort of like at-home method.
I'm
quote
just
unquote.
saying you need to be really careful with it.
If you are going to do this, I'm saying this to anybody out there who may be considering this. If you are doing this because the alternative is financially inaccessible for you, or for whatever other reason, make sure that you are still legally protected, which you can do with contractual agreements. You can go to solicitors to make sure that this is all set up. You can draft your own letters to make sure it's absolutely abundantly clear this is a donation.
OP continues, my ex and I talked about it and I was fine with it. I helped him get the samples and his brother... Sorry, I helped him get the samples. That's just so... Okay, fine, we know what you're saying. And his brother would come and collect them and take them to his wife.
Okay, no, but I don't think you're thinking of it in the same way that OP's thinking of it.
I don't know. It's just such a weird way to write. I helped him get the samples.
I think what she's trying to say here is she was on board. Do you know what I mean? Like, she assisted in that process, even if it was like...
No, we don't go there.
Okay.
Just move on. Move on. Anyway, it took quite a few goes, but it worked.
Child.
Well, she wrote it like that. Only when she got pregnant, finally, she started acting weird toward me. She was jealous, like clearly jealous. She made snarky comments towards me and glared at me when I'd see her.
So
What
the
bit? It's like the
pregnant
primary school
sister-in-law.
playground. Yeah, is now mad at OP for some reason.
Because
I don't
OP's
know.
partner gave the sperm.
donation. Is it
She,
some
like,
kind of like
attracted to him?
jealousy? I don't know. I would have expected it, if anything, to be the other way around.
Right, that OP would be jealous.
Yeah. Anyway, future, not anymore, sister-in-law glared at OP. This was going on for a few weeks. When X and I were shown the scan photos, she looked pissed that he was hugging me while we looked. Then she came to the house and I was alone.
This
and
is a
she
massive red
accused
flag.
me, I know, and accused me of coming between the brothers and wanting her child to grow up an only child. Where did this come
What?
from? There's not even been a discussion.
What?
Like, this was seriously out of nowhere. It made me feel off about things, and I asked her why she was acting like a jealous girlfriend or mistress. She lost her shit and told me I needed to back off.
You need to back off. You have a baby.
Okay, I
What?
don't like where this is going. Let's read on.
I think she's
have a bad gut.
preferring the
I think
brother
it's made her have feelings towards the OP's ex instead of her
as
husband.
opposed to her husband.
Yeah. I confronted my ex and he played dumb. He said he had no idea why she was behaving that way, but I didn't buy it. And then his brother asked me if I thought his wife was being weird with my ex.
Okay, so that means in that couple they can feel it too.
I said
this
yeah.
is so sad.
We both confronted them and she asked why it mattered how she'd gotten pregnant. Yep, as long as they got the result they wanted. Okay, well, we know what happened, don't we? Ex's brother almost attacked my ex.
Ex's brother.
So the brothers nearly had a fight.
What? What? But you agreed.
No, the pregnant one, said, why does it matter how she got pregnant? Why would she say that if it was turkey basted? Well, let's read on.
Did they sleep together?
1 second.
You're saying they slept together?
Yeah, X was saying it wasn't like that and the turkey baster method wasn't working and it was all about his brother and how nothing else happened but in and out. He really...
She's not a burger. What? Sorry. Just to confirm, what we're saying is
She got pregnant because,
he slept with her
yeah, OP's ex slept with his brother's wife.
without telling either partner.
And then OP's ex's brother's wife started acting weird with everybody.
Oh, Jamie, you're confusing me so much. OP.
The pregnant one started acting weird with OP
Because they slept
because
together.
she'd slept with OP's boyfriend and probably maybe started getting feelings for him.
What? And the
'Cause why
husband
else?
didn't know.
And it seems like the husband didn't know. That's
The
why they...
daddy to be didn't
Yeah,
know.
because he nearly fought his brother. Flipping it. Right, let's carry on. He really thought we'd buy that. I walked away from him that night and I gave back my ring. Good for you.
Oh my god, you 1,000,000% should have done.
X.
This is absolutely ridiculous.
This is. X tried to fight for me to forgive him, but I just felt foolish for agreeing to begin with. No, I don't feel foolish. This
That is
was...
so sad. That is so sad
they're
that you
using-
agreed to be a donor,
Yeah.
and now you're making OP conflate the idea that you could help by being a donor with literally cheating.
They're literally
What
just
the
using
fuck?
this donor scenario as an excuse for cheating. The two things are entirely separate. They wouldn't have done it if there weren't feelings and there wasn't a want.
I
They would have...
cannot believe so at some point they had a conversation without you guys knowing. The fact that she was helping get the samples and yet he goes behind her back and they have a conversation without them knowing.
For listeners, Shaaba's doing some very funny finger dance moves.
I'm just saying, like, just to have, how does that conversation even go? Why do you say yes? Who proposed this?
It's because
Solution.
they wanted to sleep together. I'm fully convinced this is nothing to do with the donation or the turkey bastering not working. It could be that it did work, and either they didn't know because they decided to sleep together soon after, or they slept together anyway.
Maybe out of feeling some kind of I can't even try to understand why. This is so ludicrous to me. I genuinely think this is one of the worst Am I the Dramas we have ever read.
Yeah, we're going to read to the end, and then we're going to chat.
I am so shook.
I can tell. I don't know what's going on with the brother and her.
As in, like, whether the couple have stayed together.
Where she's pregnant. I didn't stay in touch. That makes sense. But I told X's parents and grandparents that X slept with his brother's wife, that it got messy because of the baby.
Oh my god, that is why.
Right, and
that's why they've come to you.
And right at the top, they said they wanted to act as if the brother was the bio daddy, apart from with the kid.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, that doesn't work because the kid is going to tell other people. Like, other people are going to find out, and then, like, sure, it's your prerogative, you tell who you want to tell.
As in,
like,
you as the child.
Yeah, but, like, really close family members, like the grandparents, I would tell grandparents. As long as there is the expectation of knowing that the child will probably share the information when they're old enough
Yeah,
to.
but
then
that's
fine.
and that's the child's decision,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? I'm sorry, I'm still so shocked.
Okay.
So wait, you told you
So
said.
OP said everything.
Bah.
I think the one thing that's not been considered here is the baby.
I do think that's really sad, actually.
Yeah.
I do think that's really sad.
Anyway, they continue. They thanked me for my honesty and apologised for asking me, and then a few days later my ex DM'd me on Instagram and asked why I had to mess with his family like that, and he said I effed his brother over more than he already had.
I mean, you effed his brother's wife, to be fair.
Yeah, I blocked him. It was a second account I forgot about, but I feel bad if I highlighted what his brother's dealing with before he was ready to tell anyone. Am I the drama? I was so strong on a not the drama for OP until
she told.
it was about the baby. I think
I need to take a minute to think.
A few moments later.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
gone.
My badge?
Yeah.
Everybody sucks here.
Okay.
And I think you suck similar amounts.
Oh.
I was going to say that I
okay.
think OP sucks less. I do think it's absolutely horrible what you went through. I think it's so disgusting that your partner did that to you, purely from the fact that they were cheating. And secondly, for the fact that I was going to use the term screwed another family. I didn't mean it in that way, but take it as you will. I understand how difficult that must be, but I also think that what you've done in confessing with the level of detail that you really didn't need to go into is hurt that child.
I hear you. My badge is similar but slightly different.
I want to give mouldy brownie badges as well, sorry, to
Yes.
the ex and to the baby mama.
Yeah, I was going to do the same. So I was also going to do an Everybody Sucks here, although I do think OP gets like half an undeserved drama badge because she was brought into it and made the wrong decision in the moment.
Yeah.
But the drama was caused by her ex and the sister-in-law.
1,000,000%.
They are the mouldy brownies, but OP has caused drama for that child. And if it were me, my details to the family calling, because you don't have anything to do with that family anymore. Like, there was no necessity to give them detail. I would have just said, your son cheated on me. Done. He cheated on me. If there's issues within your family, you need to speak
You need
with
to
your
sort that out.
sons to work out what's going on. But all you need to know is, I was with somebody, he slept with somebody else. That's it. And then they can go and speak about it. But the parents, although she gets a mouldy brownie, the pregnant lady, she and her husband did not want people to know about their situation with getting pregnant.
Yeah.
They wanted to leave it up to their kid, and that kid deserved that freedom. But now you have broken that with multiple family members who will go and share that far and
Even
wide.
wider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although,
Or could, you share that even wider.
yeah, the ex messaging you and saying you've effed his brother over more than he had. No, he did that.
Yeah.
He's the one that slept with his brother's wife.
I think that's who I feel worst for. I feel absolutely worst for the child in that
Yeah.
situation, but I also feel really bad for the brother,
Yeah.
as in baby mama's husband. I'm assuming they're married.
Yeah, it goes baby, the guy who got cheated on, and then OP.
Yeah.
In terms of who I feel bad for.
And honestly, I think a lot of people are going to be like, how dare you, Shaaba? How dare you say that she is accountable in a similar vein? And I think for me, I had to take a real good amount of time to think about this. It's because in my mind, I'm so strong on the fact that we can't conflate these two issues. There is a family who wanted and deserved the privacy that they would have had in any other situation. If they were using any other sperm donor, you would have that privacy for the protection of that kid, because that is their information.
Yeah.
That is their information. And in that situation, I do think it's so unfair that somebody who's not even in that family, who has no consequences
Yeah.
or attachment, would give that information up when they didn't need to. There was absolutely a way that you could have said what you needed to say to absolve yourself from any guilt of a family that you don't even want to stay connected to.
Yeah.
Right? And protected that child. And I do think that's the biggest betrayal to me. And that situation is so different. It's entirely separate. Cannot stress that enough, to the fact that someone cheated. They have to be considered as two separate things. Anyone who doesn't think that she did something wrong, I think, is conflating the two, and are not respecting the fact that families who, again, we're talking about, it's interesting how sometimes there's like threads that go through all of the posts that we discuss within an episode, but there is a privilege there in just assuming that all families can have pregnancy in a traditional, quote unquote, traditional way, and not respecting the additional complexities that come with having to go through a non-traditional route.
Yeah, and the drama isn't to do with sperm donors.
No.
Or to do with a couple not being able to conceive.
It's actually just to do with cheating.
Cheating, which I think the donation is just being used as an excuse for the cheating, and giving away information that isn't yours to give. You're not together anymore. That is a family issue that they need to deal with as a family, and as harsh as it sounds, you are not part of that family.
Yeah, you had every right to say that he cheated on you. 1,000,000%. You had every right to be mad, but you did not have the right to share that child's personal information
Yeah.
in a way that could make their life really, really difficult.
Complicated.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see what other people have to say about this one.
Yeah, I'm feeling so bad for that kid, because now, like, their parents will have some sort of resentment, but also the grandparents, and if they share that into any wider family, that child is going to be viewed differently and like a burden. Like, that's really quite possible.
And like the cause of a massive family
rift,
implosion.
and that is not that child's fault.
Yeah.
And it's all because boundaries were not respected. Because, as you said, brother to brother donation, actually sibling donations, because also egg to eggs on like sister sides, it's the most common way, is to say it works really well, but all of you going in have to be able to discuss those boundaries.
Yeah.
You need to be able to trust those people that you are talking about and really have it laid down as to what you're doing, why you're doing it, etc., etc. And I'm talking about this from our personal experience, where we've gone to clinics and explored all avenues of having babies: known donors, unknown donors, and adoption. And with the known donor route specifically, a lot of clinics actually mark it as compulsory for you and everybody involved in that situation to have therapy, right? You have counselling, so that you understand the impacts of the family, and can discuss things like the boundaries of who's being told. So another thing, that if you are going to go down a route where you do not have a clinic involved, consider that.
And it's also the best outcome for the children.
It is,
not
psychologically what's best for them.
Not judging any other types of donation, but just if there is that possibility, it does work out best for the children.
Yeah, but what works out the best the most is what the child wants to do, and feeling like they are, well adjusted within that family, not when they're going to be blamed now for this rift that they didn't create.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, what was your badge?
I said
Drama.
everyone sucks here, but I do think OP overshared, but I think in the grand scheme of drama, I do think she is lesser than her ex.
I agree in the sense that she didn't initiate it. She didn't cause it. If we're talking about the dirtiness dimension of drama, right? The extendification of drama. Extendification. I'm just trying to give it a term that, insinuates the shock factor of it.
Okay.
Obviously, it's very juicy. It's very gross that someone has cheated in this way. At the same time, I do think the graveness, even though it's not juicy, the graveness of the impact that's going to happen to that child and that child's position within that family network, to me, feels just as bad.
I hear you.
It wasn't your place to say.
Yeah.
It wasn't your place to say.
Especially knowing that they didn't want to share it.
Yeah. One commenter says, not the drama. You didn't owe him silence. His family approached you and he cheated on you with his brother's wife. He is a piece of shit. Sounds like they deserve each other. I feel for the brother, but that's not your responsibility.
You didn't owe your ex silence, but you owe the child privacy.
And same
That's
for the
where
brother.
I disagree with this post.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of people will have this approach, and I did too. This was my gut reaction. But then I really consciously had to remember that the cheating is separate to the donation.
Yeah.
They are not the same thing.
Yeah, it's not like the brother's wife got pregnant through cheating, like, and that was the intention was for her to get pregnant by the ex, but
Yeah.
just not in that way.
Yeah.
So the family dynamic, they might still be together and going to raise the baby, as in, like, not the ex, but the wife, the husband and wife might still be a couple. He might forgive her for cheating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not the drama. The only people who effed up everyone's lives are him and ex-sister-in-law.
Again, I don't think these comments are coming from a bad place. I don't think it's that they don't care about the kid, they're just not considering it.
Coming from the perspective,
They're just like, oh,
I
cheating.
see it, yeah.
Same. And I do think that we're in a unique position where, because we have been talking about family planning, this is what's come up. You know, we're sort of more attuned to thinking about that kid. But wow.
What in the Jerry Springer did I just read?
Who's Jerry Springer? Is that
I
like
feel
the
like-
American
I want
Jeremy
to say
Kyle?
like Jeremy Kyle type thing, but yeah, that was hella messy.
That is so
And
messy.
if I were OP, I'd be really pleased to just be away from that. Oh,
Imagine receiving that information as the family, though. Even though that was not information
Yeah.
that they should have received. Imagine going to the ex and being like, what can you tell me? I bet you that was not on the list of potential options that
It's
they were
a
thinking
lot.
of. That is a lot.
because they're probably like, why are the boys not talking to each other? As in, like, the two sons, the
Why
brothers.
I imagine that the baby mama, because I'm assuming she's pregnant now.
Yeah.
You know, like she will also be, that there'll be confusion there and within the dynamics, because if that
Yeah.
was the tension that they were feeling when she was there and they were all together, whew,
Yeah.
now that she's gone, not the drama. You are allowed to talk about your story. He's allowed to talk about his story. Unfortunately, they overlap. That's not on either of you. It is yours. Your ex made it your story, and it's the reason your relationship ended. Unpleasant as it is, it's the truth and something you had to go through. I could not disagree more, and this is why. It's the exact same point of conflating the cheating with the donation. The fact, as you said, the fact that your ex is the donor to this couple would have been the same outcome if he did not sleep with her.
Yeah.
They were trying. It was ultimately his sperm that has created this baby, and you were okay with that. That was always your story, but not your story to tell, because before that happened, you all agreed to the boundary that only the four of you would know. You helped and you did that process knowing that. Did you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now the reason that your relationship ended is not because of the donor, but because he slept with her. It is separate. I cannot say this enough. It is separate, and therefore that was not your story to tell. The cheating, absolutely your story to tell. Get up on a car, get yourself one of those loudspeaker things, and say, Carl, you're a piece of fucking shit for cheating on me.
Yeah.
But not the donor bit.
Sure. Yeah. You're rarely going to be the drama for telling the truth, but this is a situation where you are. I'm just adding that bit to the comment.
Yeah, I think you are the drama for overstepping and breaking a boundary that was not supposed to be shared, that you already agreed, and that ultimately is negatively impacting the privacy of that child and the family unit, who I think are very reasonable to request that privacy.
Yeah.
Nobody else needs to know.
Well, the four of them went into it saying this bit will be kept private. The cheating, tell them, but you can't tell them, oh, and my ex was a donor.
So interesting though, none of these comments are agreeing with us. None of these
they've
comments at
mentioned the
all
child.
are talking about the accountability on OP for the impact that's going to have on the kid. And also the non-bio dad.
Yeah.
Peaches, I'm so intrigued on your opinion on this one. I have a feeling this is going to be a very hot topic in discussion. I just request that you are kind in your comments, please, to each other. Very important that we still maintain civility.
Yeah.
Grab yourself a cup of peaches. That was a lot. We'll go on to our final drama. This final submission is from a fellow Peach over on the R1800 Drama subreddit. Remember that exists. If you want to submit your own drama or want to help other Peaches out on there, you're very welcome to.
Will I be the drama,
I
Shaaba,
love a good would I be the drama. Nothing's happened yet.
for locking my partner out of our house for an hour?
I mean, yeah, that does sound
No.
kind of like you're the drama, babe.
But for an hour? It's not very long. Depends on what they did.
Excuse me, if I locked you out the house for an hour, would you not feel some kind of way?
Maybe.
This Peach is a 24-year-old MB and says, I and my partner, 22, decided to each go to our own family Easter celebration this year. My partner's family celebrates Orthodox Easter, and my family does Anglican Easter, so usually the celebrations fall on separate days, allowing us to attend both.
I had no idea.
That there were different Easters?
Yeah.
Me neither.
I've grown up in a very non-religious household. It's always just meant chocolate.
Yeah, we'll read on.
Okay.
However, this year both celebrations are on the same day, which also happens to be 420.
Eh.
For
Well, I can't say it, but isn't that the day?
420.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a day?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, the 20th of April.
Yeah.
You Americans in your backward states. I have never felt more boomer than I
Yeah.
do right now. Okay, we move on. We decided earlier this week that we would attend the event separately, but that we would meet up to go to our local theatre screening of The Big Lebowski at 9:30.
Okay.
What's The Big Lebowski?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
I knew this would be doable for me because my family celebrates Easter in the morning, but their family is known to start late, 3 to 5, and end late, 9 to 12. As
Right.
in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine they'll start 3 to
Yeah,
5
yeah, yeah.
a.m. So I asked them if they were sure that they would make it in time, and they assured me that they would, as in for your screening
Yes.
at 9:30 for The Big Lebowski. Okay, what is an Easter celebration that lasts all day? Like, what is a morning Easter celebration? Oh, like...
I guess it's just
Going to,
maybe
like, a
like
service.
church, a
Sure,
service, having a meal.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Because you're right, I think for me it's just chocolate. So
Yeah.
I'm just, wanting to visualise that. Because my event was ending earlier, we agreed that I should take our only set of house keys with me. Okay, well, that's the drama right there, that you only have one set of house keys, but you're 2 adults. Flash
Yeah.
forward to now, an hour before the movie, and they messaged me to say that they can't come because their family in Bunnies won't let them leave. We've all been there. I was a little surprised at this, so I asked if they said that we had a date night planned, and they said no, they didn't say they had a date night, and instead lied and said that they'd missed the last bus, but then got fact-checked because somebody looked up the bus times.
Oh. Just be honest.
Yeah, dude, just be
Just say
honest.
that you've got like, look, I've been with you family all afternoon. Let me go have my date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked why they didn't just say that we had a movie date planned, and they said that it in Bunnies felt rude to book a date on the same night as Easter. You booked it in advance, though. You did that.
If it felt rude to book it on Easter, then you should have told your partner that you didn't want to book a date on Easter.
Yes, it feels like
Yeah.
what's happening is that they didn't feel entirely comfortable about it, but didn't realise until they were there and not able to communicate that.
Or what you do is if you're not sure if it's going to work out, you're like, let me just check with my family that I'll be able to leave the Easter celebrations early enough to make it for that movie screening. Hello, family. How would you feel about this? And then if you don't want to deal with the fallout of them not liking it, then that's up to you.
Yeah. And then you book it for a different day.
Yeah.
Anyway, and refuse to tell them the truth and leave the party. I'm annoyed, says Peach, because now I feel like I can't go to the movie either because I don't want to leave our keys in the mailbox. And if I go to the movie, my partner will be stuck outside for up to an hour. Oh, see, this made it sound, the title, like you were like,
you
get out!
Kick them out. Like, get out of the house. Then you lock the door behind them.
But I'm hearing what's happening now. So for security reasons, you don't want to leave the keys. But then if you go to the movie alone, they're going to be stuck. So would I be the drama for going anyway, or should I stay home or take the risk and leave the keys in the mailbox? I will just say that there is another option here that I feel hasn't been thought of, and your partner, they can come and join you partway through the movie.
Yes. Or you get another set of keys.
Yeah, definitely, you should have done that.
Just have 2 sets of keys.
It doesn't make you the drama, but it will avoid the situation in the future. But also, I get it, like, you want to see the movie, but you also want to enjoy that with your partner.
Yeah.
They can come and join you partway through.
My badge is not the drama.
Same.
Personally, if they don't want to leave, if they don't want to tell their family the truth and be able to get out the Easter celebrations to make their commitment with you,
Yeah.
then they stay at their families until you are done at the movies.
That's another option. Yeah, they can stay later.
That's what I would do. That's what I would say. Look, I'm not leaving them in the mailbox because that's not secure. We don't have time to get another set cut, and I don't want you locked outside for an hour. Stay at your family's house until we'll be home at the same time.
It does also feel
That's what I
some
would
kind of
do.
way, though. I think I'm all up, like, go you for going to the movies by yourself. Cool. I know how that feels, though, if that wasn't the plan. You might not want to go and see a movie that you were wanting to see with your significant other.
I'd invite somebody else.
At short notice, yeah, if that was possible, maybe you could. But alternatively, you could arrange to see that on a different day with them later. There are other options. I was going to say no drama here, but I do think your partner with love was the drama in this situation because they lied to you earlier or they lied to your family, one or the other.
Yeah, something happened, and I think, like, just be honest, because if you don't have those boundaries with your family, they're going to expect that they can keep you or have you at certain things.
And maybe this is because Easter is really, really important for you guys, in which case, totally understand, but then be honest with your partner.
Yeah.
And I get it, babe. I get it. I, too, have the curse of the people pleaser. It's not nice to let people down, but you need to be able to be honest with your partner if you
Yeah.
feel like you're not going to make something, or if you have made a commitment in that vein, be honest with your family. It's not fair. Yeah. to mess them around like this.
I'm slightly confused about the timeline of this because this is a will I be the drama?
Yeah, so I think
But-
Peach was submitting this whilst waiting.
Whilst waiting.
Yeah, to be like, what do I do?
Okay.
I'm assuming, seeing as we are now in May and this was April,
Of course.
that the movie night has gone. So hopefully there's been a little update. Update!
Okay, the consensus seems to be I wouldn't be the drama, and
Oh,
they actually
spoiler.
apologised and offered to wait on the porch if I wanted to go see the movie.
That's sweet. I think that's kind that they were waiting. But also, sometimes I think when you're like, oh, movie, if I'm going to miss the time, you can go in partway through.
I decided not to
Aw.
in the end, one because it's cold outside and also because I felt like it wouldn't be as fun alone and felt better after they said sorry.
Okie dokie.
We decided we'll watch the movie at home together instead. Also, for those asking, we lost that other set of keys last week and this whole model had impressed upon me the importance of getting it replaced
Yes,
ASAP.
Peach. 2 keys.
Thank you all you lovely peaches for validating my feelings on this and taking the time to offer your advice.
This is very
Love
sweet.
it.
I have to say I'm really grateful for the fact that this is a bit of a lighter one because I
Yeah.
feel like the first two have been really heavy.
Very heavy.
Happy 420.
Yeah.
Should we see what the other Peaches had to say? Go.
Partner can just stay at the event an extra hour until you
Yeah.
get home since they couldn't get away to do the date night. Yeah, that's what I would have done.
Yeah. Not the drama.
Ah, they lied. That's their mess to clean up. It sounds like their family's approval means a lot to them, so I guess I can understand. That being said, you two are in a partnership and communication is important.
Yes.
You were under the impression that you had both communicated the plan, which is an appropriate assumption given what you said.
Very this.
Talk it out and try to move on.
This right here is a pod comment. I think this says everything that needs to be said.
Yeah.
And I love the fact this has come from a Peach.
Beautiful.
I just don't understand why your partner refused, to be honest. That's really not cool. They're being dishonest to you, your feelings, your relationship, and their family, and they need to see that. I do agree with this. I do think this is very brutal. The bottom line is this, and I can understand, honestly. This is coming from a place of people-pleasing. It can be difficult, especially when there are family events that we go to, and I can be so convinced beforehand. Every single time I'm like, no.
I remember this.
I will
Yeah.
come back. No, even now.
Yeah.
They're like, we will come back early. We want to be able to have a decent night.
We go to everything together now. This was when we used to go to things separately. I remember you saying, I will not be back late tonight. And I was like, yeah, you will.
Yeah. And at some point, you just need to be truthful to yourself. Families can be really tricky in that vein, but
Yeah.
can't live with them, can't live without them.
Can definitely live without them.
You are adults. You should have a spare set of keys.
If you don't, you should have the good sense to go directly to a hardware store and get new keys made. It's not something that waits.
This is a good lesson to that I feel Peach has now learned.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to today's episode.
Thank you.
It was a big one.
It was a big one.
I really feel that middle
It was
one.
a chunky boy.
I know.
Like
it's,
prawn.
it's stuck in my brain still.
Yeah.
It's massive.
If you like this episode, you can go give us a rating over on wherever you are streaming this podcast from. You can rate each individual episode or the podcast as a whole, whatever you prefer.
And the podcast as a whole.
And the podcast. Do both, please. It's really helpful.
It really,
Thank you.
really does help us out. And if you're watching this over on YouTube, then be sure to give this a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more. We do new episodes every single Monday.
Yes.
Until next time, be kind
Much love.
and have a great day. Bye. He's just not settling.
Prawn. Thank you.
Don't go inside the drum, baby. Don't go inside the drum.
Thank you, sir. Such a little protester. When you tell him not to do something, he just meows. Meow.